What would you say if a cop smiled at you, acted friendly, and tried to make you hand them the evidence they don't actually have? If you answer the wrong way, a weak stop can turn into a full search fast. When cops lack proof, they often try to get you to build the case for them with your own words, your consent, and your panic. Hit subscribe right now, because what I'm about to show you could save your rights when your heart is pounding and your brain freezes. Like this video now so you can find it again the day you actually need these exact words. You're about to learn the 5 moves officers use when they're fishing instead of proving. You'll learn the one sentence that blocks a consent search, the question that exposes an illegal delay, and the calm line that stops you from talking yourself into trouble. You'll also learn why stepping out of your car does not mean you gave up your rights, and why a quick safety check can become a lot more if you say the wrong thing. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings, not internet myths. And if you stay with me to the end, I'll walk you through a full stop from first lights to final release so you know exactly what to do with your hands, your voice, and your words. This matters because most stops do not start with hard evidence. They start with a minor reason, a guess, or simple curiosity. Then the officer starts looking for more. That's the real danger for you. Most people have no idea the case often gets built after the stop begins, not before. Here's the reality. You don't lose your rights because you feel nervous, and you don't help yourself by arguing on the roadside. But you can absolutely give away your protection if you start chatting, guessing, or trying to seem extra cooperative. That's why you need simple lines you can say under stress. Not speeches, not attitude. Just short words that protect you without making things worse. The first move they use is making the search sound casual. You'll hear something like, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" Or, "Just open the trunk for me real fast." That sounds small, but it's huge. If you say yes, you just handed them the easiest path into your car. Let me show you exactly what to say. "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Word for word. Memorize that line. Say it calm. Say it once. Then stop talking. This is 100% legal. You are not required to help create a search when they do not already have legal grounds. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection because consent wipes out one of your best arguments later. If the search happens anyway, your clear refusal still matters. Defense attorneys use this exact line in court because it draws a bright line. You gave no permission. Bad way. Most drivers say, "Sure, I've got nothing to hide." Then the search starts and they lose the easiest defense they had. Good way. Smart drivers say, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches." Then the officer has to rely on real legal grounds instead of your permission. Watch what happens when you use the right line. The whole stop changes. The officer now knows you understand the game. They may still search if they claim another legal reason, but they can't honestly say you invited them in. That matters later if your lawyer challenges the stop. Without this line, you can get dragged into a full vehicle search over nothing. Your bag gets opened, your center console gets checked, your trunk gets emptied on the curb. Even if they find nothing, your day is gone and your rights were thrown away by one nervous yes. With this line, you keep the burden where it belongs, on them. The case behind this is Schneckloth versus Bustamonte. In plain English, the Supreme Court said a search can be valid if a person gives voluntary consent. That means your yes is powerful. It also means your no is powerful. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. If they want in, make them use law, not your fear. Have you ever been asked for a quick look during a stop? Drop a comment below, because once you hear it this way, you'll never miss the trick again. The second move is the friendly fishing trip. This is when the officer already has your license and registration, but keeps talking to see if you'll fill the silence. "Where are you coming from? Where are you headed? Why are you so nervous? Whose car is this?" These questions are not always about being polite. A lot of times they are trying to get you to say something odd, inconsistent, or just plain dumb. Here's why this works on you. When you get nervous, you talk more. Then you correct yourself. Then you add details nobody asked for. Now your normal stress sounds suspicious. Your long day sounds like a lie. Your hesitation becomes evasive behavior. That is how weak stops grow teeth. Here's exactly what you say. "I'm not answering questions." Am I being detained for anything other than this traffic stop? Keep it calm. Keep it short. That line matters because it does 2 things. First, it shuts down the fishing. Second, it pulls the stop back to its real purpose. If it's a speeding ticket, then deal with the speeding ticket. If it's a broken light, then deal with the broken light. Don't help turn it into a drug case, a gun case, or a roadside interview. Bad way. Most drivers say, "I'm just coming from my friend's place." Well, actually my cousin's place. "We grabbed food." I mean, not food, just hung out. Then the officer hears confusion and starts digging deeper. Good way. Smart drivers say, "I'm not answering questions. Am I being detained for anything other than this traffic stop?" Then the officer gets fewer chances to build suspicion from your own mouth. This is not about being rude. It's about being careful. You still hand over the documents you must provide. You still keep your hands visible. You still stay calm. You just stop volunteering. The legal idea here is simple. Police can often ask questions during a stop, even unrelated ones, but that does not mean you must join the conversation. Your silence does not create evidence for them. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when an officer is clearly probing for more than the ticket. If you keep talking, you make their job easy. If you stay quiet, you force them to work with what they actually have. The third move is dragging out the stop so backup, a supervisor, or a dog can get there. This one catches people because it feels normal. The officer walks back slowly. They stall. They ask the same questions again. They act like the stop is almost done, but somehow you're still sitting there 10 minutes later with no ticket and no release. Here's the trick they don't want you knowing. A traffic stop is supposed to last only as long as needed to handle the traffic reason and normal safety tasks. It is not supposed to turn into a fishing trip just because they feel curious. Here's exactly what you say. Officer, am I free to leave, or am I still being detained? Those exact words. If they say you're free to go, leave. If they say you're detained, stay calm and say nothing else about the facts. This is 100% legal. You are not fighting. You are not resisting. You are asking for clarity. And that question matters because it locks the moment in place. Either the traffic part is over or they are claiming a legal reason to keep you there. That is a big difference. Bad way. Most drivers say, I guess I'll just wait here until you're done. Then the delay stretches, a dog shows up, and the stop gets bigger. Good way. Smart drivers say, Officer, am I free to leave or am I still being detained? Then the officer must either end the stop or own the reason for keeping you. Watch what happens when you ask it calmly. The whole mood changes. The officer knows the clock matters now. That matters because of Rodriguez versus United States. In plain English, the Supreme Court said police cannot stretch a normal traffic stop longer just to do things like a dog sniff unless they have extra legal suspicion. That case is gold for you. This comes straight from Supreme Court rulings. If you never ask, you may sit there confused while the stop quietly turns into something else. If you do ask, you force the issue into the open. 90% of drivers don't know what comes next. If you're still here, you're already ahead of the game. Drop a comment saying, I'm still here, because the next two moves are where people give away rights without even noticing. The fourth move is getting you out of the car and splitting people up. A lot of drivers think stepping out means the stop became illegal, or that they should refuse. Don't do that. An officer can usually order you out during a lawful stop. That part was backed by Pennsylvania versus. Mimms and passengers can also be controlled during the stop under cases like Maryland versus Wilson and Brendlin versus California. In plain English, the officer can move people around for safety, but that does not mean you suddenly owe them consent or conversation. That's the trap. Once you are outside, they start working both sides. One officer talks to you, another talks to your passenger. They compare answers. They look for tiny differences. He said you were coming from work. You said dinner. Now, normal memory gaps become inconsistent stories. Here's exactly what you say. I will comply, but I'm not answering questions, and I do not consent to any searches. That line is clean. It shows zero resistance and zero permission at the same time. Bad way. Most drivers say, why do I have to get out? We were just at my girl's house. No, wait, my brother's place. Then the officer hears attitude and a changing story. Good way. Smart drivers say, oh, I will comply, but I'm not answering questions and I do not consent to any searches. Then they step out safely and stop feeding the stop. Former police officers have confirmed this works because clear, calm compliance takes away the easy excuses. You are not giving them drama. You are not giving them admissions. You are just not helping them build a bigger case out of a small stop. The fifth move is dressing up a search like a safety step. This is where you hear things like, for my safety, empty your pockets, or lift your shirt, or let me make sure you don't have anything on you. Now, to be fair, if an officer has a real reason to think you are armed and dangerous, they may do a limited pat-down for weapons. That comes from Terry v. Ohio. But a limited pat-down is not the same as you volunteering everything in your pockets or agreeing to a deeper search. Listen closely because this is critical. You should never physically resist a lawful frisk. That can get you hurt fast. Your power is verbal, not physical. Here's exactly what you say. I will not resist, but I do not consent to any searches. Am I required to empty my pockets? Word for word. Keep your hands still unless told otherwise. That line protects you in two ways. First, it shows compliance. Second, it makes clear any extra search is not by your permission. Legal experts agree this is your strongest protection when officer safety starts sounding bigger than it should. If they truly have legal grounds, they'll act on those grounds. If they don't, your refusal matters later. Bad way. Most drivers say, okay, and start pulling things out on their own. Then a simple frisk becomes a full evidence grab. Good way. Smart drivers say, I will not resist, but I do not consent to any searches. Am I required to empty my pockets? Then the limits of the stop stay clearer. Here's the reality. These 5 moves work because they feel normal when you're stressed. A casual request, a friendly question, a long pause, a step out, a safety check. None of that feels dramatic in the moment, but each one gives officers a chance to turn weak suspicion into stronger evidence if you fill in the gaps for them. So let's tie the law together in plain English. Schneckloth versus Bustamonte means your consent can make a search legal, which is exactly why your refusal matters so much. Rodriguez versus United States means the police cannot drag out a traffic stop longer than needed just to go hunting for new evidence unless they have more legal suspicion. Terry v. Ohio means officers can do a limited pat-down for weapons in certain situations, but that does not mean you should volunteer a deeper search. And Pennsylvania v. Mimms means you may be ordered out of the car during a lawful stop, so your winning move is not arguing. Your winning move is calm compliance plus clear refusal. That is the pattern behind everything I taught you today. You do not fight. You do not run your mouth. You do not consent. You ask clear questions and you force the stop to stay inside legal lines. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life. You're driving home at night. Your tag light is out. Red and blue lights come on. You pull over, put your hands where they can be seen, and give your license, registration, and proof of insurance. So far, so good. Now here's the wrong way. The officer says, "Where are you coming from?" You answer with a whole story. Then he asks if there's anything illegal in the car. You laugh and say no. Then he asks, "You don't mind if I take a quick look, right?" You say, "Sure, I've got nothing to hide." Then he tells you to step out. You start arguing. He asks you to empty your pockets. You do it. Watch what happens. What started as a tag light stop just became a full roadside investigation built on your words and your permission. Now here's the right way. The officer asks where you're coming from. You say, I'm not answering questions. He asks to search. You say, like, "Officer, I do not consent to any searches," and he tells you to step out. You say, like, "I will comply, but I'm not answering questions and I do not consent to any searches." He keeps stalling. You calmly ask, "Am I free to leave or am I still being detained?" If he says you're being detained, you stay calm and stay quiet. If he talks about safety and asks you to empty your pockets, you say, "I will not resist, but I do not consent to any searches. Am I required to empty my pockets?" That is how you protect yourself without making the stop worse. The difference is huge. In the wrong version, you help build the case. In the right version, they have to build it without you. Next week, I'm revealing what to say when cops claim they smell weed. Subscribe right now because that trick gets people searched every single day, and that next video may be even more important than this one. So remember the big picture. Never give a casual yes to a search because consent is the shortcut they want most. Never chat your way into suspicion because your own words can grow the stop. Never let a long delay feel normal because time matters in traffic stops. And never confuse compliance with surrender because you can step out, stay calm, and still protect your rights. Hit subscribe so you catch that smell test video next week. Smash the like button if this just changed how you'll handle your next stop. And drop a comment telling me which line you're going to memorize first. Stay safe out there.